Welcome all, welcome Jamie and welcome Omar for this AFC webinar. So you represent the company Dotmatics. Dotmatics has introduced easypanel, omiq, and FCS Express. And we are very happy to receive you today to explain this new organization. All people from the French Association, you know well, omiq, FCS Express, and easypanel. So maybe you are going to explain us how Dogmatics is organized now. So the first talk will be the intervention of Omar from easypanel. So Omar, I let you, you can present now to all people from the association what is easypanel.
Perfect. Bonjour à tous. Good morning, everyone. Catherine, thank you very much for setting up this call. As you said, my name is Omar. I'm the co-founder of easypanel, which I think a lot of people in this audience know. It's an automated panel builder. We're very happy to be working with a number of different French institutions. We're also very happy, as you said, to be joining Dotmatics. We were acquired, as you said, 3 months ago now by Dotmatics. I think a lot of people may not know Dotmatics. It's just the mother company of several different software, including in the field of flow cytometry, FCS Express and omiq, which, as you said, will be presented by my colleague Jamie here on the call in 30 minutes. But they also own another software that I think a lot of people know called GraphPad Prism. The reason we are very excited about this acquisition and about joining this team is, one, it's a great team, and two is because we're looking into a number of integrations. Hopefully I'll demo one integration with omiq, which we haven't launched yet, but hopefully will be online in 2 or 3 weeks. So the idea between all these different software is that we hopefully will provide the seamless end-to-end integration from panel design using easypanel all the way to data analysis using omiq and FCS Express, so that it creates more added value to the users. So with this, I think you can all see my screen now. easypanel is obviously, as you know, accessible through this page. If you just Google easypanel, you will be able to find it. And if not, then I can post it in the chat, which is just here. Anyone can create a free account initially, but it has limited functionalities. I chose to demo a few INSERM accounts because we have, I think, maybe 5 or 10 different INSERM institutions who are using this and who have a license. I will talk about the omiq integration in a few minutes. This is on my end as a 20 minutes presentation, and then would love to take questions at the end for 5 or 10 minutes. So I'll talk about this in the end. I'll skip the Spectrum viewer for now, just because it's accessible elsewhere. The antibody search is just a browser of, it's just a browser of all the different commercial antibodies that are available in the market. As we integrate with all the vendors, all the major vendors that you know of, BD, BioLegend, Thermo Fisher, Miltenyi, Beckman, Cytec, Bio-Rad, you name it. And we try to update this commercial database every single month so that you're able to find the latest products and find them easily. I'll start with the inventory. So we are not only a panel building tool, but we're also integrated with an inventory management tool. This was requested by a lot of users just because they purchase or they maybe have in stock already a large inventory or stock of antibodies. And their request was, when we design or develop panels, we want to be able to use what we already have rather than purchasing everything from scratch, because it may save cost and time. And so that's the whole idea of the inventory tool that I'll be showing you here. So at the INSERM different instrument institutions have different inventories that I see here. We probably have 20 or 30 different stocks of antibodies. These are probably worth more than $2 million because I see about thousands of different antibodies here. I personally do not have access to these stocks. These stocks are private to the people who have created them. So no one will have access except if the owner gave you access to their stock. So for the purpose of this demo, I'll create something called Omar's stock anticorps, for example. I can choose any of the different INSERM places that have a license. I'll choose general for now. And then I click save. And then I have this stock of antibodies that I created. Um, why use this like inventory management tool in easypanel, and why not use Excel or Google Sheet or any custom tool that you may be using? The answer is very simple, is I think because easypanel will help you save a huge amount of time, as I'll demo in a minute. When you add a product in any Excel file or Google Sheet or any electronic lab notebook, you typically need to add a lot of different fields to identify this product. You need to specify the marker or the target, the fluorochrome, the species, the host species, the clone, the vendor or the supplier, the concentration, the isotype. In easypanel, you don't have to do any of that. Only based on the catalog number, we'll be able to automatically fill everything. And so hopefully this will save you a lot of time in data entry. So let me take any CD3 FTSE example. I don't know, I'll take, for example, maybe this one from BD just as an example. I'll just copy the catalog number, la référence, and I'll paste it here. And if I click autofill details, as you may have noticed, all these fields were filled automatically. Now, if you have the lot information, you can add it. This is only optional. And if you want to specify in which fridge, in which box it is, the volume remaining, how many tubes, the expiration date, this is obviously very hard for us to guess. If you want to add notes, for example, saying I titrated this recently and it is working well, you can do that. You can even import attachments of titration curves in Excel, PDF, Word formats. If you have multiple lots of the same product, this is how you add them. You can have multiple lots of any given catalog number, and then this is how you save it. If you have an Excel file already existing, you can import it using Excel. So click on Import. We have a very simple template that looks like this. Again, we only need the catalog numbers. If you have the marker information, the fluorochrome, etc., that's fine, that's good. If you don't have it, that's totally fine. Like I said, we want to save you time by only requesting the catalog numbers. So this is the format. You can download it anytime through this template. I'll upload it right now. I have 500 different antibodies in the Excel that I just showed you. It will take 10 seconds to be imported fully in easypanel and include all the data. All right, so as you see, you remember my Excel was empty. Now you can see all the data here. Including all the data fields. The second quick advantage versus Excel is the capability to browse or to search for products. You know that CD137 is also called 41BB or TNF RSF9. If you use Control F in Excel, and if you try to find CD137, you will not find the 41BB, although they are the same thing. But in easypanel, we made sure to use all the synonyms, all the aliases of all the markers so that you can reliably and easily find products regardless of how you call things. You can obviously export the data as an Excel anytime to your local computer. You can add multiple collaborators if you want to share this stock. You can have a private stock and then a shared stock if you would like. The last thing that I'll say is that we launched a mobile app. If you're using a smartphone, you can go to your browser on your smartphone, which can be Google Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, doesn't matter. And if you log in, if you go to our website and log in, you'll be able to take a picture automatically using your smartphone of the tubes that you just received. Right now, I cannot like demo it because I'm already using my camera, but if you use your smartphone, it will connect to your camera and it will let you take a picture of the tubes you have, and it will read automatically their catalog numbers, and it will update your stock accordingly automatically without you even touching a computer. Whether you are adding stocks, you are adding tubes or vials, or whether you are trashing those. So now, I want to switch gears and show easypanel, the panel builder itself. Um, this full inventory management feature can be used by itself, and we have a number of users who use it without doing any panel design. But if you're doing panel design, then this is great because it's fully integrated with the panel builder, with the purpose of, again, saving you time rather than buying things from the outside every time. So let's say, I use an Aurora 5 laser, for example. There are two modes. One is optimizes based on the full commercial catalog from all the vendors. And the second one is tries to prioritize the stocks that you have in such a way to, again, save you cost and time. Um, and so, okay, let's go to the next page. This is where you choose the species reactivity. This is where you choose whether you're fixing the sample, yes or no, whether you're digesting a tissue, yes or no. This is important because we will exclude some antibody clones that we think are not working well, or may prefer them based on your protocol. Like, for example, if you digest a tissue using collagenase, some epitopes may be destroyed. And based on the literature and based on data that was shared with us by vendors, we will account for all this knowledge so that we suggest the products that make sense for you. By the way, a new update that will be launched next week will allow you to specify the fixation method, whether you're using hard fixation, mild fixation, and so on and so forth. We're very excited about this update because it has been requested by a number of users. You can prefer vendors. Again, easypanel is a vendor agnostic tool, meaning that we are not paid or incentivized by any vendor to suggest specific fluorochromes or specific products. This is important for panel design. You want to be unbiased and not necessarily be locked or constrained to one specific vendor, because all vendors have interesting fluorochromes and combining them together would probably lead to the best panel. But it's up to you if you want to prefer vendors. It's also up to you if you want to exclude one or multiple vendors. It's up to you if you want to exclude one or multiple fluorochromes. You can even exclude channels. Sometimes people exclude the channel where they have the most autofluorescence, or I don't know, maybe if the channel is not working well, you can exclude that. You can save your preferences and get back to them anytime later. Okay, this is the third page where you enter the markers. You can enter them manually, CD4, CD8, CD25. You can also import them from an Excel file rather than adding them one by one to save time. You can even, for those who use kits, commercial kits from Cytec or BD or Thermo Fisher or Miltenyi, we have all the kits here. You can type the catalog number or the name of the kit. It will load it automatically for you. For those who want to have a suggestion of any immune cell population, human or mouse, just type the name of the immune cell population and we'll suggest automatically a list of markers, a list of cytokines, and a list of transcription factors, which you can add or not. And obviously you can edit this list. So you can remove some markers, you can add some new markers, etc., etc. You can even add papers like OMIPs. For those who know OMIPs, you can type the name of the OMIP and we will load it entirely for you. We're even adding panels from the Journal of Immunology, Journal of Cancer Research, etc. A couple quick things that I'll mention is we tried to show you the expression level by default for each marker. And it's up to you to change that. So, CD4 is generally highly expressed. CD25 is generally low expressed on T cells. You can change that if that's not the case. We try to put these by default for you to save you time. But again, we ask you to verify this information because it's important in panel design. As dim markers like this one typically are matched with bright fluorochromes as vice versa. One last thing or two last things that I'll mention. One is that you can click Show Advanced Options, and you can see some, all the commercially available clones for any given marker. The ones in green are the ones published in OMIPs. You can also exclude the clones. You can put multiple markers as co-expressed on the same cell population. As on the same dump channel, in which case they will all be matched with the same fluorochrome. This is how you do it. You can play around with the co-expressions. You can put as many markers co-expressed in the same group, because in this case, we will try to match them with different fluorochromes that are separate or have low spillover. The last thing that I'll say and that I would like to emphasize is some people think that easypanel is a tool to optimize panels from scratch. The answer is that that is not true, actually. Most users use easypanel to judge the quality of their existing panels. I am sure in the audience of today, most of you people have already existing panels that you run. And so if you could use easypanel to judge the theoretical panel quality of your panel, like, if you're using, I don't know, let me actually do a bad panel on purpose. Say I'm using per CP here, which is bad. Say I'm putting per CP size 5.5 here, which is also not great. Per CP VIO 700, per CP or eFloor 710. This is not a great combination. I want to say that if you have an existing panel, put in the fluorochromes that you're using, and easypanel will give you a quality score corresponding to your panel. And we have received multiple thank you emails, which made my day and made me very, very happy, of people who had existing panels that they were running for several months or even sometimes several years. And easypanel suggested some areas of improvement for them, sometimes just changing one fluorochrome or two fluorochromes. And when they've done these changes or small tweaks, the quality of their panel and their data improved significantly. So again, I encourage everyone who has an existing panel to try out the tool and to get the quality score that I'll show in a minute. So this is the last page that I'll show, and then I want to take a minute to show a potential omic integration. But in less than 10 seconds, you'd get a panel suggestion with the different lasers of your cytometer and the different commercial or inventory availabilities that I'll show in a minute. Okay, so very quickly, this page, I can spend half an hour on this page, but for the sake of time here, I will be brief. These are the different markers that we added in our panel. For each marker, you can read the expression level from the previous page. For each marker, you have a corresponding fluorochrome. And for each product, you have the commercial availabilities or the inventory availabilities. Inventory means that it's already in your stock, in your lab's inventory. You don't have to purchase it, in which case it's highlighted by this icon. So if I click here, you'll see who sells that product, the catalog number, the species reactivity, the clone, whether the clone has been published in OMIPs, and all the corresponding information. And you see in which stock it is. And then you can use it this way. You can select it this way. And here I'll select this product. This is how you can select the different catalog numbers. If it's a product that is not in your stock, or maybe it is in your stock, but on a fluorochrome that is not good or that doesn't fit your panel, we will show you the link to the vendor's catalog. And then you can purchase it directly from the vendor. And you can see the price, the list price in the USA as well. You can request the quotes automatically from the different vendors. This will send separate emails to the different vendors you've selected. Just click request quote, and then they will send you the quote and the lead time automatically. The two things that I want to highlight here very quickly, the two scores that we care about. One of them is called the easypanel quality score that I tried to mention 1 minute ago. It's on a scale from 0 to 10. 10 is the best score, 0 is the worst score. Generally, anything below 8 or 7.5 means that this panel could be potentially improved. And you can read the details about how your panel was judged. What are the criteria based on which we judge the quality of the panel? And for example, one of the criteria is, do you have any dim markers on dim fluorochromes? And for each criteria, you have your score out of the maximum or the best possible score. And here, and the total thing sums up or totals 10, a score out of 10. And here I can see already that I lost some points. I got 0 out of 2.6. Why? Because, and we tried to pinpoint it to you, we tried to flag it very clearly with the yellow warning sign, because you have a low express marker, which was here, matched with a dim fluorochrome, which was here, or per CP on CD25. So for this reasons, your panel may be sub-optimized, and these are areas of improvement. We even tried to show you the quality score. We tried to show you an alternative. We tried to come up with a solution. We don't even leave you there. We tell you, okay, based on the full commercial catalog that we know, and based on your full inventory, if we, easypanel, had to redesign your panel, we would have come with this panel. Just click view, and this is how you can switch between your existing panel with your fluorochromes versus this one. And then you can see the new quality score here, which will generally be better. And like I said, the second thing that we report is the estimated cost savings. What are these? This is a theoretical number, but it's an estimation of the costs you're saving by using products from your stock. It essentially sums up or adds up the total value of the different products in your stock that were suggested in this panel. Why? Because all these products will not be purchased externally from the vendors. So you're potentially saving this amount. You can export this data as an Excel. You can check the similarity matrix. You can save this panel and get back to it anytime. You can put it as a link in any paper or any lab notebook. You can generate a public link, copied. And if you put that link in your lab notebook or in your journal or in your paper or in your presentation, anyone who clicks on that link will be able to get your panel. This is how you access your saved panels and any panels that are saved with you. The last two things that I'll mention are, the fact that you can manually edit this panel if you would like. Click manually edit, and a new tab will open up. Sorry, and this time in the manual panel builder, and it will let you swap fluorochromes or make any edits you would like. This is encouraged in case you have the experience necessary for that, so feel free to do it. We know that, I think the feedback about our panel builder has been very, very good. At the cytometry conference earlier this year in May, Cyto in Edinburgh, there were at least 6 posters publishing easypanel by independent scientists and users. I'm also aware that there are at least two different papers that are waiting reviews for publication by independent users or scientists who used easypanel. So I think the feedback has been very good, but again, I encourage you guys to review the panels and edit anything manually. I think I'll conclude here. So this is how you can, remove the fluorochrome like this. I don't like this, for example, and put a new fluorochrome. And then once you finish the edits, you can move next and get the new panel suggestion. Get the new spectral signatures and get the new quality score. The last thing, because I know I'm a little over time, before taking 5 minutes of questions, is the omic integration. And before handing it over to Jamie, I just wanted to say that, we are very excited about being part of omic and FCS Express now. One of the integrations, and again, we are very open to your feedback, is when you import your spectral signatures in omic for data analysis or in FCS Express, you will have a shortcut button in omic or FCS Express called Compare My Single Color Control Spectral Signatures versus the ideal ones or the theoretical ones. And we will overlay these in easypanel because we have the ideal or the theoretical or the expected spectral signatures. So every time you'll be able to see the actual one that you generated with your data on your own cytometer, spectral cytometer, that you imported into omiq or FCS Express versus what we think should be the ideal one. And you'll be able to compare them. And the idea or the purpose is that we will flag, things that are dissimilar. If we see that, it's below 0.9 similarity, we will flag it for you because maybe there is an issue with your controls, maybe there is an issue with your fluorochromes, and it's up to you to decide what you want to do next. But at least we're trying to bridge the gap between theory and experience and the gap between panel design and data analysis. So this is one of multiple features of integrations with omiq and FCS Express. Hopefully it's useful. And with this, I'm concluding. Maybe take 2 minutes of questions and hand it over to Jamie.
Thanks, Omar. So you have one question in the chat from
Yes. Yes, so thank you. Bonjour, concernant la gestion d'inventaire, j'ai 2 questions. Y a-t-il un mode offline? Y a-t-il un champ personnalisé utilisé pour un code interne, par exemple un numéro pour commander le réactif? So the question is about inventory. If I may answer in English, yes, we don't have an option offline. Just because this is a cloud software, we can look into this if this is really needed. But this is all online, and one of the reasons for it being online is that we update the commercial database from the vendors every month. And so we need to kind of renew the database that we have. But, to your second question about adding an internal note or like a free text, yes, you can. If you click edit, there is something called notes. You can use this to add any internal codes, for example. I don't know, internal code 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. And then you can save it. You can also search these notes or these internal codes or whatever text or codes you want to add. Hopefully that addresses your question. And I'll be staying also at the end if there are more questions. And there is a support button, by the way, in the bottom right-hand corner. If you have any questions, you can always text us here directly, but hopefully that addresses the question.
Peut-on limiter le choix des réactifs marqués IVR?
Alors, c'est pas encore le cas. This is not yet the case, but we do have rule, research use only, and IVR indeed. We can develop that if that's, let me take that as a note. And yes, this should be possible. We can have a filter for you to filter in IVR. So let us develop this feature. It should be very easy, actually. Thank you. I just took a note about it. Romain, merci pour votre question. Hi, is the price of antibodies available in euros? We just added in USD so that we don't have to, juggle between different currencies. We are even adding further to some users' request the price per test, like the unit price, not even the total price. The price, like, per how many tests or per microliters or per micrograms. We don't have it in euros. We can look into that if needed. And by the way, our prices are not necessarily accurate because your company or your institute may have a discount with the vendors. So we just put the list price for now. Okay.
No more question. So I think now you can begin your talk, Jamie. I think if there is no more question about now you are well known, Omar, in France. So in the reason why you have no more question.
Sounds good. I'll be at AFC as well in December in Marseille. So look forward to meeting you all in person. All right.
Thanks, Omar. Thanks, everyone. Was it omiq first? I can't remember what was on the schedule. Was it that way around? So I do it the right way around.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let me start by sharing my screen. So hello everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen there. So yeah, I'm Jamie McCarthy. I'm an application specialist for flow cytometry at Dotmatics, and I represent two brands. I represent omiq and FCS Express. So we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about both of them today. I'm just over the other side of the sea. I'm in the UK. I'm in London, and as we go through today, please feel free to write some questions in there. It's okay if you write them in French. Omar is happy to be my translator for today. So yeah, please feel free to write questions as we go. But I think I'll leave them till the end and go through all of the questions kind of at the same time. So we're gonna start with omiq. What we're going to talk about today. So when we're thinking about omiq, we're going to start kind of stepping back a little bit and thinking about kind of flow cytometry in general. And this is what we deem kind of a very typical flow cytometry workflow. So kind of thinking about the type of things that Omar has been talking about: panel design, inventory, thinking about getting your experiment planned, organized, ready to go. You're then going to go and run your kind of experiment. You're going to actually sit down, perform the experiment and record the data. Then you're going to probably go and maybe, move and collect metadata, kind of keywords, interesting things about your data, per file annotations, like, was this a stimulated, unstimulated? Was this panel, was this patient 1, 2, or 3? And then you're going to come and analyze your data, and then you're going to come and share your data. The thing that we believe at omiq is that we can bring down all of these apart from performing the experiment. We think we can help you to prepare for your experiment in a more efficient manner. We can make the collation and sorting of metadata easier. And we can, because we're a cloud-based software, we can really kind of bring down that sharing to be almost instant. And we can make analysis a really efficient thing. And we even have a little Prism kind of logo here as a little tease about some of the things that you can do to share data in omiq. So this might be a kind of a thing that might be a little bit cheeky for an analytics company to say, but we really are seeing that analytics is becoming a bottleneck in research. And because it's a bottleneck in research, it's a bottleneck for the advancement of human health. This might seem like a kind of big statement, but if you think about the increasing flow cytometry experiments, they're only getting more complicated. Panels are getting bigger. It used to be kind of when I first started in flow cytometry, a 10 to 15 color panel was big. Now people are routinely running 20, 30, 40 color panels. There's even like kind of a couple of months ago, a 50 color fluorescent panel was kind of published. So data's getting bigger, and also files are getting bigger because you can have plate loaders. It's very routine. People in omiq can have experiments with hundreds of millions or more than 1 billion events in their experiment. They can have thousands of files in their experiment. This is complicated and this is difficult to analyze. And at omiq, we want to try and kind of help make this kind of journey a little bit easier for people. The thing that kind of differentiates omiq from the market is we're a cloud platform. So there's nothing to locally download when you use omiq. You access us via a browser, and you spin up a virtual machine and a server to kind of do all of your analysis. And because we are in the cloud, it makes it really easy to share your data. You're not having to move data from server to server or move it to your local kind of hardware to do the analysis because your software doesn't like talking to the cloud. We are in the cloud, and everything is kind of seamlessly integrated as we kind of go. So you're able to kind of get your data into the cloud, share your data, share your workflows, have multiple people working on the same analysis at the same time, because you're able to share that data across geographical locations, across teams, and even across kind of groups and different companies as well. And we have a lot of kind of seamless integration for your kind of analysis and automation. We're able to set up workflows, which will mean you're getting from your raw data to p-values as kind of quick as possible. If you're used to kind of some other local flow cytometry analysis softwares, you might be thinking that to run all of these kind of different kind of more advanced flow cytometry things like algorithms and tasks, that you might be having to download different packages, deal with R, things like that. There's nothing like that in omic. Everything is native to the software and everything just works. All of our algorithms are natively built into the software and everything is available for you as soon as you kind of log in. So I mentioned automation. One of the ways that it is possible to automate your analysis is to have your data coming straight into the platform. So with omic, there's kind of a few different ways to get your data into the platform. You can upload it yourself into a browser. If you have the data yourself, you can upload it to our server and then kick the analysis on the run. If you are kind of able to integrate with APIs and different automation methods, you're able to have omic automatically kind of bring the data in from your hardware. So data can be coming from your instrument onto the instrument's computer and automatically uploaded to the cloud. This is something you can work yourself if you're kind of code-minded, but it's also a package that we share, that we sell if you want us to kind of come in and build this for you in-house, to have all of your data automatically going straight from the instrument into the software. We also have, lots of different file types. Most of the data in omic is FCS files, but you can bring CSVs in. Anything line by line, you can bring into the software. So we have people doing things, like Luminex or cytokine bead arrays. You're going to be able to do that in omic as well. Most of the design choices and algorithms and tools are built for flow cytometry, but if you want to use them for other stuff, we certainly do see that happening and think that it's possible in omic as well. So two of the ways that omic's different to a lot of other software is that we really kind of value this kind of concept of metadata. So these are these per file annotations or keywords where you have a value per file. So it could be something like, it's something about the patient, male versus female patient, stimulated versus unstimulated sample, healthy versus diseased sample. It could be a batch number, it could be a date, it could be a time point in a time course experiment, anything which is you're gonna want to use to say something interesting about your samples, either to concatenate or merge your samples together, or to do differential expressions. Metadata is super central to everything that we do at omic. And the other thing central is our workflows. Our workflows are kind of really kind of central to how we do our analysis. They're visible, they're auditable, and they can help you make reproducible analysis. So they kind of work like this. They are kind of based on that kind of processive analysis style of something like R or Python command line approach, where as you go down an omic workflow, you're always working off the previous task. So for instance, the workflow route is the raw data. The first thing that's happening in this workflow is we're applying compensation. After compensation, we're applying scaling, but we're not scaling the raw data, we're scaling the compensated data. You can open up all of these tasks, you can see exactly what's happening in them, but it makes it really easy to reproduce your analysis. If any of you have had to write an SOP for flow cytometry analysis, you know that it's really difficult. Did I do my compensation and then my scaling? And then did I gate before I did the scaling? And then when I did UMAP, which settings did I use for UMAP? When I did FlowSum, how many clusters did I build? And then think about all the things that you've done to do your analysis, and then try and do exactly the same thing in 6 weeks, in 6 months, in 6 years. It's really, really difficult to make sure that you're doing exactly the same thing again and again and again. And that's why we think these workflows really help you to have that interactive exploration of flow cytometry data that we know people love, but help you to reproduce it. We put it on tracks so that you can reproduce your analysis, and it's much more auditable and much more kind of classic in that way. So I've mentioned a few algorithms and things like modern kind of high parameter analysis, but we do want you to know that omic is the tool for classic analysis as well. We have a lot of these more typical kind of analysis tools, which mean that you don't have to just think of omic as the place for your high parameter stuff. This is kind of a very typical workflow that we can work down, but we see at the top here, we are just doing things like compensation or unmixing. We are adding tools all the time. So unmixing is a recent addition to kind of omic that we have. So we can now deal with raw spectral data and come through in here. This kind of classic workflow where we are doing, starting with something like compensation or unmixing, we are able to kind of look at those spectral plots. Omar mentioned that we are working on, being able to ping these out to something like easypanel so you can compare your spectrum to what the manufacturers expect you to have, and then you can use that information to judge your single color controls, judge your unmixing, go back, rework it. We are working on a few automation tools. These are differently available. So for example, scaling, we hope in the near future to have an automatic scaling tool. At the moment, this is a manual process, as we believe it kind of is a very important step. So automating things like scaling, automating things like gating, where we can kind of really help make omic a productivity multiplier. We can help you get kind of from your analysis to kind of some of these results, even kind of classic X, Y, kind of 2D, 1D analysis, really, really simply. So a few kind of more recent tools. I mentioned that we are always kind of adding things in. We do have kind of backgating now, where you can come in and view kind of a little bit of the history of your gating, see where it differentiated, where it became interesting, and you're able to see that kind of hierarchy and look at kind of how your gates and your gating hierarchy are kind of looking as well. In omic, it is all about kind of this kind of easy to use kind of interface, where you're able to come in and look at gating, apply it to kind of different figures, see how this is working. This is kind of a example of our order gating tool, which is currently a kind of bespoke per panel service, but we're hoping to roll it out further across omic in the near future. This is where we would design a panel for you, and we would kind of make that computational logic try to best capture your human logic to kind of help save you time and increase reproducibility of your kind of gating. And when you go in, and you can make a lot of different exploratory kind of analysis tools in omic. These are figures where you're maybe doing your kind of classic kind of hierarchical or kind of looking at your kind of gated populations, but you're also able to come in and explore an embedding, explore a UMAP, explore flows clusters, try to figure out what those clusters are, and kind of really get down to the grips of kind of your analysis kind of as you go. And we're talking about exporting statistics. We have as Omar mentioned, there are one of the companies that's also at Dotmatics is Prism, and we're happy to work with Prism because we know people love it, and you're able to export directly from omic into Prism via a Prism table, so you can be going from your flow cytometry analysis to something like an EC or an IC50 in minutes using their kind of analyze and rearrange tools. So gone are the days of having to worry about CSVs and rearranging CSVs and getting a headache of how do I get my flow cytometry data into Prism. We're kind of helping that integration. We also have an integration in FCS Express as well, which I'll try to highlight when we kind of get to that point. So I'm going to talk a few of the kind of modern high parameter algorithms that we have. So we have these cloud computed natively integrated algorithms. So you're not doing anything locally on your computer. And that kind of really helps in two ways. One way it helps is that if you're doing a local analysis using a local analysis software, your software can only do one thing at a time. You can run a UMAP, you can run a flowsum, you can run a clustering tool, and then your software is doing that until it's finished. With omic, you can run a flowsum, you can run a clustering tool, and then go away and do some other analysis. You can run 2 flowsums and then come back and look at the results. You can run 3 UMAPs, come back and look at the results. You're not limited by your software only having one processor going at a time. You're able to kind of do multiple things and then come back and review the results at the end. And this can be really powerful when you're doing your analysis. The other thing is, because you're not limited to your local hardware, it makes no difference when you use omic if you have Windows, if you have Mac, if you have a brand new top of the range desktop, or if you have a 10-year-old laptop. You get the same experience, you get the same compute power. I mentioned that we have customers with thousands of files and 1 or 2 billion events in a data set. That's kind of almost unthinkable on a local solution. So if you are in that big data space, you have hundreds of millions of events, you have billions of events, you can get that into omic, and you can start to look at some different analysis options. And we use these kind of tools like normalization and cleaning to kind of really help automate this big data space. If you have 50 channels and you have 50 files, these kind of tools can really help with your pre-processing and getting your data either kind of fixing batch effects, removing differences against time due to clogs or laser delays or anything like that. Dimensionality reduction, we have a lot of the kind of tools you'd expect, like OPSNI, UMAP. We're also adding other ones, and this is really a big thing. When people tell us that we should add something, we listen, and if we kind of think it makes sense, we bring them in. So PackMap was an example of that. Lots of people ask for PackMap. It's kind of a little bit like UMAP, but more efficient and can scale to kind of bigger data. So we're always kind of adding new tools. Same for clustering, where we have something like FlowSum, and we're able to kind of come in there and get these kind of FlowSum tool, get these kind of clustering tools. So we have a lot of different tools inside of omiq for this kind of purpose. And then it might be all well and good having these kind of pretty pictures, having these pretty UMAPs, having these nice cluster pictures, but you might want to go and actually do some differential statistics, figure out what's different between my two groups, what clusters are significant between my healthy and diseased. And then that's the stuff that you go and find out. That's the stuff that you go and look at. And also, trajectory or analysis tools. These tools can be a little bit more specific, but if that's something you're into, if you're into kind of B-cell development or you're in that kind of world, it's certainly something that you can do in omiq as well. So once you've done your analysis, omiq makes it really easy to kind of share these data sets, workflows, and reports with other people. You can do this kind of, by going out to something like Prism, by exporting a PowerPoint or a PDF or a SVG or whatever kind of thing you're used to. And we also have a couple of ways of automating this process. You can automate it yourself by using APIs. Everything in omiq is an API. And we can also automate it in-house. So Dotmatics has some other tools and things that we can help customers to automate this process to be kind of getting your data out there and getting your data used kind of appropriately. So omiq is constantly innovating. We are adding new tasks all the time. We are trying to improve our tasks, add new functionality. If you've used omiq kind of 6 months ago and you log back in today, you'll see that we have a completely new skin. We have 5 or 6 new algorithms. We are always working on them, and we are looking to add new ones. For example, something like diffsite has been requested a lot, and we're working and hope that should come soon. If you are kind of in the enterprise space, so you're kind of from a larger company and you have your own kind of custom tools, maybe an algorithm that you've built in-house, you're also able to get that working in omiq as well. So we can host your own kind of algorithms, your own tools, your own things that you work on. If you are kind of in that kind of enterprise space where you're looking to have your own dedicated server to kind of look at analysis, we can certainly do things like that and have done things like that for other customers. So to kind of finish on slides before we do a quick little 5-minute demo, we've had this idea of taking a typical end-to-end flow cytometry workflow and making it more efficient, getting from your kind of idea to insight a lot quicker within omiq. And with our kind of friends within Dotmatics, stuff like easypanel, stuff like Prism, we're hoping to kind of increase that efficiency even more by kind of with something like easypanel to help the preparation of your experiment, something like Prism to help the analysis of your experiment, to kind of really make all of those steps along the road more efficient, quicker, and easier to do. And with something like Luma, which is kind of Dotmatics' kind of big idea, that we're kind of hoping to automate this process and to be constantly feeding back your own ideas into your own experiments. So taking your insights and using that to plan your first experiment, integrating with things like a Dotmatics lab book or the platform that we have. So lots of different ideas kind of within there. I know it says thank you, but let's probably jump the gun. Let's jump into the software and let's have a look. So if you are interested, you can go to omiq.ai, and we have a try omiq for free button. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial with us. This has full functionality of the website. And as long as you use your kind of institutional login, so something like from your university or your company, you'll be able to kind of log in and have a go. And when you do log in, you kind of get something like this. These are some data sets. Omar teased OMIP69, so this is a 40-color immunophenotyping panel from Cytek. It's quite a nice panel for kind of looking at these kind of things. And just want to show you a couple of things about omiq. For example, this is a data set where we have the files that we can kind of look at and see what came off the instrument. For metadata, these are kind of these per file annotations. These are things which are interesting about each file that I can then use to kind of edit myself. If I go to something like Excel, I can paste this in here. I could do a new column, and I probably need to clean this up. And then I can just copy this back, paste this back in, and I should have my new column in here. So if you do have these per file annotations, things like healthy, diseased, the date, you can come in here and get that information kind of into omiq. We can come in and we can make a new workflow. And we can kind of get started with our analysis. We've started with this kind of compensation and scaling tasks. If you don't like them, you can delete them. You can start with any task that you want. These are what the tasks are in omiq. We've kind of seen a few of those. They can be simple. They can be draw a figure, draw a gate. They can be a little bit more complicated things like dimensionality reduction and clustering tools. For now, let's just draw a quick gate. And when we do draw something like a gate, I can just draw a couple of examples. We have a very kind of typical thing that we're doing. If you do look at your analysis, a couple of ideas that you have. Anytime you're drawing a gate, it is kind of by default a global gate. It's in the position for kind of every kind of file. But you can do per file annotations. You can also do metadata positioning. So if you had something like a date or a healthy diseased thing, and you knew every time a certain metadata thing came up that you wanted the gate in a particular position, you can come through and add that kind of metadata positioning for having all of your files in the kind of with gates in the kind of correct place. We'll go in and I'll add maybe one or two more tasks. We can come in and we can make figures. If I was to make, maybe let's jump out to something we've already got. There we go. Just because I have a few more gates in here, so we can make a figure where we're maybe looking at something like a gate hierarchy that we've built before. I wanted to see how did I gate my T-regs, and I have all of those kind of gating steps that I had drawn before. And this is currently looking at one file. I could select all of this, and I could do something called permute. And permute is basically make a bunch more plots based on a rule. And what I can do is I can permute this to make this gating hierarchy for every file. And it's gone through and done that. And if I was to kind of come in and not wrap those rows, I could come in and look at things like that. So we're able to kind of get a lot of data in here kind of at once and kind of go through things. Look at that. Let me just run through that again. So we could have something like a gating hierarchy where we're looking at something like CD45. And then we come in here, permute, pick each file, add it onto a new row each time, and we have that kind of gating hierarchy file put out. You can permute other things. You could permute channels. You could permute file types. You're able to kind of really build up this analysis kind of really quickly, kind of as we go. We do have for kind of exporting kind of statistics. I mentioned that we do have the option to come in and export as a Prism file rather than as a CSV. So that's how you'd get data directly into Prism. And the kind of last thing to kind of that I wanted to show was that if we are running something like a dimensionality reduction, something like UMAP, and I could come in and set something up. So, this is typically how you'd set up something like a UMAP. Pick the files that you want to use, pick the parameters that you want to include into your run. This is now kind of spinning up a kind of virtual machine to run my UMAP for me. Obviously, you'd normally spend a little bit more time on the scaling, the gating, and making sure everything is correct. But now this is off running. This is spinning up a virtual server for myself. But I don't have to wait for this to finish. I could go and look at my figure. I could duplicate this. And if I say I was here learning what nearest neighbor does, I could come in here, edit this. Oh, and have kind of multiple of these kind of tasks kind of running, going. So you're able to kind of, you're not limited by your kind of hardware as it goes through there. So that was everything I wanted to say about kind of omiq today. We do have a couple of kind of, the aim is for you to not have to contact support. We try to make omiq kind of user friendly, but we're always happy to hear from you. And if you have something like feature requests, like an idea for an algorithm or an idea for a way of working, we're super happy to hear from you. Omiq is constantly innovating, and with things like you've heard from Omar, we're trying to work together with some of our other kind of colleagues inside Maddox as well. So with that, I'm happy to take some questions. I can see that we do already have a couple in here, so I can start with them, but please feel free to kind of write in questions as well. So the first one was, is there a limit of kind of storage space? So there is kind of two ways of kind of answering that question. We have kind of a couple of tiers of omiq. And one of the main ways that these kind of tiers are differentiated in are in storage space and computation. So you'd have different amounts of storage depending on the kind of level that you're at. So it kind of would be capped differently for here. For reference, it's something like 50 gigabytes of space for an essentials, 150 gigabytes of space for professional. And if you need to go above that, we basically bill it at cost. Storage isn't something that we're looking to make money off, so we're basically happy to provide it as cheaply as we can if you do need multiple storage options. But yeah, it would kind of be scaled on depending where you're on, and that's on a that's not divided per user. So if you have 10 licenses, it would be, your total would be 10 times whatever one you have. We're not going to be like, this account is 5 over and this account's 50 out. We don't care about that. It's just kind of goes out there. And that's kind of where it caps on that kind of storage space. And the other one was, how do you manage confidential data such as health data? And if you don't manage confidential data, can you add simple anonymizing window for FCS files? So we don't have a direct kind of anonymization tool directly within omiq. If there is something that you know or have working, we could look at if we could add that in as a tool. We do have the ability to kind of help people reach kind of CFR compliance on our kind of enterprise level. So where we can add those kind of more versioned tools and kind of things like that. So there's something we can help you work towards if that is the kind of space that you're kind of looking in. And if there is something like a simple tool, we'd be happy to hear and see if it's something that we kind of could put in place. And you had a follow-up question, which was, after getting a data analysis, is it possible to export data as a new FCS file with the dimensionality embedded in a new file? Yep, that's super possible. So what's an example in here? After our dimensional extraction and our clustering has done, we could come in here and we'd have an export data button where we could export as an FCS file or a CSV. And that would include anything that we've built. For those not in this space, basically the results of dimensional extraction clustering are new channels, stuff like your OPSNI channel or your FlowSum channel, and we can just increase those in, include them in any file that you put out. So yeah, it is possible to get the kind of data out. It is also possible to have a little version of the workflow. So we know that this is sometimes a requirement that people have, is with cloud software, they need to have something physical because someone has asked them for it, even though it's not always necessary. But yeah, you can download a kind of an offline backup version of your workflow, and you can also download an offline backup version of your files with any computation that you've added in. And you might be wanting that to go somewhere else. We understand that as well. If you have something in R or Python that you're working on, you can certainly take those files out and go to somewhere like that. But yeah, any other questions before I change gear a little bit? Any last questions on omiq?
The
No?
cloud, yeah, I have a question. The cloud is in Europe?
So that would depend. So if you are accessing the kind of multi-tenant version of omiq, so some part of the agreement is that some of your data will be going to the US. We are pinging local. So we use Google Cloud. So wherever kind of Google is, we're kind of pinging that local data point for you. But part of your data will be going back and forth to the US for these kind of multi-tenant versions. If you have your own private enterprise account, we can put that wherever you want it. So if you want that to be in France, or you want that to be in the in the UK, or wherever you want it to be, if you are purchasing your own kind of isolated server, we can put that wherever you want. For the multi-tenant, multiple people on the same server version, that does go back and forth to the US.
Okay.
At some point.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so let me, if there's no questions, let me switch gears to talk about FCS Express. Okay. So the other software that and if you think of omiq questions, I'm happy to answer them at the end of this as well. I'll keep an eye on the chat. But yeah, to change gears a little bit, I wanted to talk about FCS Express. So FCS Express comes from de novo software, which was also acquired by Dotmatics. But de novo software has been building flow cytometry data for 25 years now. We have a team, kind of a global team across the kind of across the world, with different application members kind of located in different places. You have I'm over in the UK. We also have another member down in Italy, so we do have a couple of people over in Europe. And because we've been going for so long, and because we have a variety of customers, we've pretty much seen every type of analysis that there is. So we're able to kind of help you out. We have customers from CROs, academic, pharma, clinical, kind of the whole kind of range of different customers as we go. So we've seen how FCS Express can help them people, and we're able to kind of help you with that as well. The idea behind FCS Express is that it's going to give you a fully integrated analysis tool that has statistics, graphs, and reports all in one place. The idea is not that you need to have several different softwares to do your flow cytometry analysis. The idea of FCS Express is when you want to just go to one place to do your analysis, you can go to FCS Express. We have full support for multiple different instruments. We work with vendors to look at their files, to understand how they want to do their analysis. And we kind of help researchers have a kind of seamless kind of transition from getting their raw data to coming with a final result. When we show FCS Express in a minute, you're going to see that it's heavily inspired by Microsoft Office. And we think that makes it really easy to use, because if you've already used something like PowerPoint, you're kind of 50% of the way of knowing how FCS Express works. So if you've used other flow cytometry platforms before, you might be used to something like this, where you have a bunch of plots and statistics and windows kind of open all over the place. And then if you want to go out to make your kind of statistical analysis, you might be copying, pasting to something like Excel or Prism. If you want to look at some images, you might be copying, pasting out to something like PowerPoint or Illustrator. If you want to do some high dimensional data analysis, you might be having to use R or different kind of support, and then copying, pasting them results to kind of PowerPoint or Illustrator. There's a lot of copying, pasting. There's a lot of moving things around. You end up a little bit more like a graphic designer than you do a scientist. And the idea with FCS Express is that we want to integrate this all into one place. So you bring your files into FCS Express, and then you don't need to go to Excel or Prism, because we have an integrated spreadsheet working directly in FCS Express. You don't have to go out to PowerPoint or Illustrator, because we have publication quality graphics made inside FCS Express. And you don't need to use R or plugins, because the algorithms are working directly within FCS Express. So I really saw the benefit of FCS Express. So before I worked for Dotmatics, I used to work for a cell therapy company in London. And whenever we'd have a patient, we would use an FCS Express layout for every patient. And that meant I didn't need to have a flow cytometry workspace, plus an Excel, plus a PDF, plus a Prism file for every single patient that came. I could just have one FCS Express layout per patient, and it really helped me to kind of reduce data fragmentation, organize my data, and have a really kind of nice way of mapping the patients as they kind of came in. So I did want to jump out to take a look at FCS Express. So this is FCS Express. If you haven't seen it before, you might be thinking that I have just opened PowerPoint, and that is, as we mentioned, intentional. And that means that as we go through the software, we go across these kind of tabs at the ribbon, and anything that you want to do in FCS Express, you come across the tab. So if I want to insert some data, I come to the Insert tab, and I can insert different plots. I can insert those integrated spreadsheets. I can insert text boxes or pictures. If I want to change the design, like I want to change the orientation and make this portrait a landscape, I can. If I want to add a gate, I come to the Gating tab, and I can. If I want to export my data by something like a PowerPoint or a PDF, or if I want to export it to something like Prism or Word, I can as well. And we have a lot of different options, which obviously I won't go through every one. We have the ability to kind of zoom in and zoom out. We have the ability to undo and redo different things as well. If I want to bring some data in, I can come to the Insert tab. I can pick a color dot plot, and I can draw a plot. It's going to open up a window just off screen. Apologies. Let me bring that in. And I can find some data that we want to bring in. Let's bring in this file. So now we have some data loaded. So this plot is, we're able to move it around, we're able to resize it, but it already looks like we're kind of building up our final result, right? We are on the page thinking about what our figure is going to look like. And we can come in here and we can edit this. We can come in here, we can add a gate. If I want to kind of draw a little gate around this kind of lymphocyte ball at the bottom, I kind of can. And if I want to drill down into this analysis, into this filter or this gate, with FCS Express, it's all about the drag and drop. So I can drag and drop into here, and I could change to something like CD3. If I wanted to kind of keep building up and looking at different gates, I can. And this is all going to live update. So if I move this gate here, it's going to move the kind of downstream analysis. But I could keep on building like a little drag and drop up here, or I could have something like CD4, CD8. Insert a little gate around this kind of double positive population. And we kind of have this kind of emphasizing these rare events. So it's really easy to kind of find back gates. So we're looking at one file here. I could flip between the files to see what this analysis looks like. I could add something like a spreadsheet if I wanted to start adding little statistics in here. So if I wanted to add something like, you know, CD3% percentage of lymphs, I could come in here, drag and drop in here, add whichever statistic I want. I get a lot of different statistics in here. But this statistic is going to live update. So as I move this gate around, this statistic live updates. As I move between files, this statistic live updates. So you can imagine we're going to come to, in a minute, a kind of next step of this. So you can keep on adding statistics, kind of plots, things, and you can kind of build this out to a little bit more of a kind of a full report. But we'll have a look at kind of what that next step kind of looks like. So we have this Microsoft Office-like interface where it's really kind of easy to get going in FCS Express. We have these integrated spreadsheets. So if you've ever made someone, you know, something like a bar chart, and they've looked over your shoulder and went, okay, I like that bar chart, but that gate's in the wrong position. Can you move that gate a little bit for me? And to do that, you've had to go back to your flow cytometry platform. You've had to move the gate. You then had to export the statistics again. You've then had to go to Excel. You then had to make the bar chart again. You've then had to probably copy and paste that bar chart back into something like PowerPoint. So again, it's not an easy process, whereas if you are looking at this all in FCS Express, you just move this gate around and it updates your statistic and it updates your bar chart. if you were looking at the plots that I was making and thinking, oh, I'd like them to look a little bit differently, that's absolutely okay. FCS Express is highly customizable. You can change those and format them however you kind of want them to look. And if you are looking at a publication, you can export this kind of whichever DPI you kind of want it to be. If you're a paper that says you need this specific DPI, can certainly do that. And high dimensional data analysis, so algorithms are all directly built into the software. You don't have to use R or Python. You can if you want to. So if you do have a, your own Python or R kind of integration that you algorithm or code that you've built, you can certainly have that kind of pinging to FCS Express and have that Python or R code represented in the software kind of as well. So FCS Express was kind of designed with kind of spectral analysis in mind. So we do have unmixing, we do have spectral plots. So if you are kind of in that kind of spectral place, you're able to kind of, FCS Express, I think is really nicely built to kind of handle that kind of information kind of as we go. And the other thing that we've mentioned, kind of the file that I was looking at, the layout I was looking at, was just the kind of beginning. You can really kind of create these kind of comprehensive tools as you kind of go through. And if your output of your current analysis strategy is to have an Excel, a Word, a PowerPoint, a PDF, and then every time you get a new file, you have to, every time you get a new sample rather, you have to repeat that, copying, pasting, not automating the process. We know that's painful. And that's how we think FCS Express can help with a lot of these kind of real-time updating, putting things together, reducing the time, cost, and complexity of your kind of experiment. And kind of if I jump back into the software and kind of look at something like this, so sticking with the omiq+69, which is featured in all 3 presentations today, this is the kind of thing that you could build, this kind of tool, where we have kind of a layout which is currently empty, right? It's giving errors and it's given empty because there's no data in here. So this is kind of a nice empty template. I could come in here and I could find some data. It's on my desktop. Let's add a file in here. And now it's going to kind of populate all of these. So what was once blank is now going to have some statistics in it. The gating that was once empty now has some data in there. But I can come in here and edit these if I want to, and this will then live update everything else in here. So this isn't a kind of flat report. This is dynamic flow cytometry data with gates and statistics and everything kind of in there. And we do also have, if I was to scroll across a couple more pages, and we were to kind of look at maybe something like this dendritic cell kind of tab, where we have some bar charts. If I was to move this around, everything is going to live update as we go. I don't know if that's coming across well on the screen, but as I'm moving this kind of gate across, the pie chart below is kind of live updating. So although this is kind of quite a large, lots of pages kind of report, everything is still live updating. Everything is still user editable. The scientist at the end of the day is the person who has the ability to come in and kind of edit and look at these kind of things a little bit differently as we go. So you really are able to kind of build up and these kind of reports and really go from that kind of, if you have something like an empty template, you bring your raw data in like this, you could have a report set up to make a PowerPoint of this, make a PDF of this, make a Prism project of this. So, with an X and Y or a column table, and then you would bring your data in, check the gates, click run, get your PowerPoint, get your PDF, and you're kind of done. We are really working on that kind of analysis to kind of results. It's kind of raw data to results kind of pipeline is what we think FCS Express can kind of really kind of help with. So the idea behind FCS Express is that we are an integrated flow cytometry package. we aim to save you time, and by saving you time, we're saving you money, because we have fast computation. You can batch analyze through to your reporting. You can set up your layout for one file and then repeat that analysis for every file that you bring in. And the idea is that you put a bit of time up front, you build a template at the beginning, and if you're in something like a time course or a longitudinal study, you're able to reuse that template again and again and again. And we're trying to reduce errors and complexity. You're not copying pasting across 5 different softwares, so you're reducing the opportunity for transcription errors. It gives you a little bit faster training. You already kind of know how to use PowerPoint, so you already kind of know how to use FCS Express, but you only have to learn how to use FCS Express. You don't have to learn how to use FCS Express and Adobe Illustrator and R. You're kind of helping yourself by just kind of learning kind of one thing in there. And we kind of can put all of those kind of raw data scatter plots all together kind of in a final report. And we really have just kind of scratched the surface of FCS Express and indeed omiq before. There's lots of other functionality as well. Things like imaging. So we were showing an FCS file, but you can kind of bring in image data from something like an Amnes or a SciPix if you are kind of in that space. We can build with large data. We have R and Python integration. We have proliferation and cell cycle analysis tools to go kind of as we kind of use them and kind of go through. So I think with that, I would just point kind of 2 things. Again, we do have a demo. So denovosoftware.com, I can maybe load up our website. So denovosoftware.com is our website, and from here you can grab a free trial. Like omiq, it's a 30-day free trial with full functionality of the kind of software. And we do have a support team as well. So if you do want a bit of a longer kind of demo, or kind of you want to reach out and go through some FCS Express, again, we're happy to organize something like that. We can kind of also offer some training. So if you do kind of go ahead and start using the software, we can organize some training. This can be a basic introduction software, or if you've used FCS Express before and you're like, I actually want to move forward a little bit now, I want to start thinking about titrations or unmixing or high dimensional data analysis, we can organize a training for something like that as well. So anything like that, please feel free to reach out to support@denovosoftware.com. So with that, I wanted to leave some time for questions. There was a hand up, and we also have a question written in. So I'll start with the written in question. So FCS Express is locally installed, not cloud-based. Yep. So FCS Express is a local software, so it is something which is locally installed onto your computer. So that's kind of if you were balancing between the two. Some people have a preference between local or cloud software. So yeah, FCS Express would be a local software. And was there a question from, is it Mathilde? I don't know if you want to type it.
There is, it seems, no question. I have one. Have you a global price for all these tools? Now you are only a company, Dotmatics.
So like a package where you would get multiple things in one. I don't think we do have something like that. They are still sold separately.
Okay.
And yeah, pricing is available on our website for FCS Express as well.
Okay, so you have no global price for all these tools yet?
No, it's not something we have to like buy one get free type thing. No, there would be that. We are working towards more and more integration, but we still have kind of some separation where it is there. But you can write, if you are interested in having multiple, please write in and we'll see if there is any movement. If how these kind of things work, the more people that ask us, we normally go, okay, that's something we need to have then. So yeah, if it is something where you're interested in having 1, 2, or 3 of the things that you've had, please let us know, and we'll see if there's something that can be, if there's some movement that we can do there.
Okay. Some question.
Oh, do we have a new question? Yes, sorry. So a limit with omiq is the export of figure to construct PowerPoint pod. Could it be possible to import workflow from omiq into FC Express and have a report? So there's some things you can export and some things you could import and some things you couldn't. For example, as we mentioned, you could bring a file in. So if there was a if you had wanted to do some high dimensional data analysis, you could bring a file in. But in terms of like bringing a figure from one place to the other, something you can't do. They're just completely differently coded. So you can't take a figure from one and kind of represent it in the other. You can't export a gating hierarchy from omiq and bring it into FCS Express. You can bring the per file gates that it belongs to, but not like a gating ML or something like that. So yeah, if there is, I would be interested why you think omiq can't make PowerPoint reports, because it is definitely something you can do within the kind of within the figures. We can export as a PowerPoint or a PDF. Oh, I have to add a plot first. Sorry, there we go. We can export as a PowerPoint or a PDF. You can also do kind of batch actions where you could set up something for one file and then have it repeating that kind of batch export for every file that you have. So yeah, you can export PowerPoints and PDFs of your figure. You can also export it for a couple of other places as well. So yeah, if there is something which you wanted from our PowerPoint that isn't there, please write in and let us know, and we can see if that's the case and if that's something we can add. But yeah, there's no kind of push this to one or the other. The figures are just too different, I guess I would say. But you can export the data. You can export the files if you wanted the files in a different place.
So many thanks. Now we have to conclude. Thanks very much. Thanks all people who were there at this webinar. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, Omar and Jamie. So welcome now in Marseille at the end of the year. Merci.
Merci.